I don't like all this nonsense, weirdo-ness. I don't like when people who claim to have a gift, they're great apostles and prophets, and they just get super de-duper wealthy. That's what this is about. Money, power, fame, unity with the people that are not doing God's work, that are not living right, not doing right. Unity with them. So Bill Prankard, on this, I do have a share there, JT. Of course, he's welcome on the Daystar set. Daystar, where Doug and Joni have literally committed adultery in our faces, unrepentant, and said they had grounds. And of course, if you talk to them, just like they did with Jimmy Evans, you're going to get the story, except Jimmy Evans never talked to Lisa, who begged for her husband to come back, Doug Weiss to come back. And so there's this adultery going on in front of everyone. And we've got the leaders, they got no problem. You are not a Paul. You do not have the authority and the power that was given to this great apostle in the Bible, because you don't do what they're supposed to do. And that is to expose the wicked works of darkness and call to account, as they did in Galatians 2. As they did. Galatians 2. I mean, it's right here. Paul says that basically, he opposes Cephas. When Cephas came to Antioch, I opposed him to his face. I opposed him to his face. I'm just going to underline that. I just want my kids to read that one day. I'll be gone, but they're going to have to be left with this big shamaz, and they're going to have to continue the work. So in 2 Galatians, verse 11, when Cephas came to Antioch, I opposed him to his face, because he stood condemned. For before certain men came from James, he used to eat with the Gentiles. But when they arrived, he began to draw back and separate himself from the Gentiles, because he was afraid of those who belonged to the circumcision group. Paul said, if you're afraid of the folks over here who are not doing what is right, if you've got fear, if you are a coward, then he was willing to oppose them to their face. Unrepentant sin, he would give people over to the enemy, to Satan. I've turned him over to Satan. Not welcome in the church of the living God. There is not a right amount of discipline and godly oversight. Oversight committees overlook everything. Board members just give carte blanche agreement to predators, to alleged predators with predatory behavior that has gone on over 20 years. Fine. Nope. Yeah, sure, you can be a pastor. Oh, you've got people in court taking you, on charges of pedophilia. Oh, okay. Yeah. You know what? Everything's fine. Everything's fine. I am sickened as a daughter of the Christian church. Even in my day, let me tell you something, even in my day, if there was somebody sinning and doing these kinds of things, our pastors would publicly humiliate. They might have gone a little bit overboard, but they would hold to account sin in the church. And there was sin everywhere. But we've gone to this other end of the spectrum where we are just loosey-goosey. It's all on relationship. I need relationship with everybody. Please don't gossip. Please don't gossip about these ones who, are not holding the line of Christianity. Please don't gossip about, it's gossip, No accounting. Oh, and I love this one, the one about if you have jurisdiction. And they think they have it. If you do, you're not using it. I'm so done. Honestly, who are y'all? You just want a title. You just want to be seen and noted when you come into the church. Oh, Apostle so-and-so is here. Now we'll be taking a grand offering, so nobody go home before he's done. It's like you want the good side of what the Lord has placed in the fivefold ministry. Some people say it's not for today. I'm actually, the jury's out. I don't see much good of y'all prophets and apostles. People like Jeremiah Johnson prophesy falsely. They shut down their whole ministry. They say they're shutting down their ministry, then they start up their ministry somewhere else. You know, I mean, the family's a mess. They're all suing each other. And I get it. He came from a really rough family, and families are difficult, and it's okay. But who are you supposed to trust? And all of these prophetic, I want to call you up. I want to call you up and give you a word. Let me tell you, let me give you the kind of word that they're giving. You know, this next year, you are going to see some challenges. And God is going to come through for you in a way like you have never seen. And in this next year, you're going to hit some bumps in the road. You're going to feel betrayal by some. You're going to experience a new path that God is going to open for you to go and walk down. And he is going to be with you because he has seen you and he knows your name. Sounds good, right? Yeah. That's the kind of prophetic words they're giving. And guess what? I received that word that I just gave. I receive it for myself, that God is going to open new doors. He's going to be with me, and that God knows my name. He has yea and thus and verily written it on the palm of his hand, according to Isaiah. It's hogwash and nonsense, right? And everybody's like, oh, yeah, you know, specific words. I believe that God, in moments in life, gives very specific words to people for others. I do. But I also believe that a majority of our Christian leaders are now using this nonsense to make sure they get a good offering, they get invited back, they tickle the ears of the people, and they give a prophetic word that can literally be given to anyone. But they have to call you out to give it to you. It's sad. Having said that, I had a prophetic word back in, it was 1999. And it was right after I'd had a very powerful encounter and I felt the call of God to bring me to television. And there was a woman, and I'd known her. I knew that she had a strong prophetic gifting. And she called me up, and I had just started volunteering at a local television station. My family behind my back was calling me this, delusional. But I'd had a word from the Lord, and I was going to follow through and be obedient. This prophetic woman, she called me up and she said, this thing is way bigger than you think. I see subtitles. I see international ministry. I see that you're going to be on television. She knew nothing. I just started volunteering at a TV station, and believe me, pretty much my whole circle kind of thought I was a bit crazy. My family. My cousins, they said I was delusional. I still love them. They took it back later after I became the co-host of the 700 Club as a national daily host. They said, oh, maybe that was God. So I know what it's like to get a prophetic word. The literal studio that we're in today is because of a man who's on my board. And he said, Laura-Lynn, I want you to know that God is preparing a home for you. And I said, well, Dave, thank you, but I'm actually looking at somewhat larger condos. Because we had been in Kelowna, we were in a condo. And I said, I'm kind of looking for a larger condo than we had because we basically had to move sideways to get around the place. And he said, nope, God is preparing a home for you. I said, okay. All right, Dave, I am going to trust the word of the Lord. I'm going to begin looking at homes now that we can rent, that we can have our studio, that we can potentially have staff, which is exactly what's happened. And I trusted God, and I trusted that man's prophetic word. And here's what I know about the people that I honor in my life. They They're godly. They're righteous. They don't entertain sin. They call out sin. And they're right with me. They stand with me on what I'm doing. They're not mamby-pamby. They're not trying to get a position or a title. So with Bill Prankard, there's another picture, and I'm looking for this one that is with him and this guy. So here's Bill Prankard, and Jacob and I spent this afternoon with my friend Kenneth Copeland, a very special time. Now, Kenneth, I don't think I can get this any larger, but he's looking a little different these days. Part of me said, is that really Kenneth? Okay, but I'm sure it is. You know, Bill Prankard wouldn't lie. So what did Jacob and Kenneth Copeland do? All right. So that's what somebody wrote down here. I don't know what that's about. So this is Jacob, I guess, Bill Prankard's friend. And they're off visiting Kenneth Copeland. Yeah. I bet you anything that the apostles just don't call out Kenneth Copeland on some of his teachings, that he's a little God. Some of his teachings on prosperity. I bet they're not bringing correction to the church. And thus, people like Kenneth Copeland have run amok, garnered huge masses of wealth for themselves, while poor people, like the homeless, still are here. I have a feeling, and after what I've seen this week, I have a feeling that if the church actually put tithes towards helping the poor, they could make a huge dent in the homeless populations of every city in North America. But you know why we don't? We don't have a heart for it. We don't care. We're following the leaders who are following building projects and their own personal wealth. That's what's happening. It's disgusting.